morning, everyone. It is Dina Krogadal, your American Dream Makers host. I hope that you are having a fantastic morning already, that you woke up and just felt so much gratitude for the life that you have been given, and another day to go out there and make a difference in the world. Today, I've got an amazing guest coming on. And he is absolutely an American dream maker. And here on the American Dream Maker Show, we absolutely believe that not only can you achieve the American dream, but you can go beyond. And the American dream belongs to all of us. So Joe Ingram, he is the man, the myth, the legend, the genius. And we've got him on this show this morning to talk about some really awesome things that are going on and that will actually put a little humor in your life and also a little pep in your step. And so without further ado, let's get Joe onto the show. Hey, Joe.
I made it. Yes. Good morning, Zena. Good morning, Ani. Yes.
Good morning. And anyone who's watching this live, absolutely be sure to let us know that you're here. We love comments. We love Joe sometimes even loves heckling, because I think he likes kind of the back and forth a little bit. So if you're here, give him a hard
statement. True statement. And I get contracted by other show hosts just so I can come in the audience and heckle. So I welcome it if I'm the guest. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's your opportunity to get Joe back, you guys. Yeah. So heckle away. Yeah. And also, be sure to share this out. Joe is, my gosh, he's like a mover, shaker, and all those things. And don't let him fool you. He's actually a really nice guy. So.
No, that was just in the propaganda kit I sent her originally when she's like, "Give me your info," and I'm like, "Yeah, just say really nice guy."
Yes. Yeah. Just say, yeah, that guy, that really nice guy. So right. Joe. We actually really would like to know, who is Joe? Who is the man, the myth, the legend, the genius? Who is Joe?
I love that. I have a coffee mug on the other side of my desk that says the man, the myth, the legend. And then I also have the t-shirt that says Joe, the man, the myth, the legend. So it's like you were reading it right off the top of my mind. But so I go by the Sales Genius, hence the license plate that's there, and my Star Wars glorified sales genius up here. I am the guy. I am a husband first, father, now business owner, amateur comedian, meaning I don't get paid for it. I just crack jokes whenever it's possible. So, but no, I'm the guy that likes to help companies to sell more, because, right, part of the American dream is what? Most people, American dream is you got to have enough money to support yourself and move forward. I believe sales is without sales, we have no business. And so I've taken it upon myself through many pivots in life to end up where I am now teaching companies how to better sell their products and services so that they can actually live that dream that we all wish we could.
That's great. So what was your first sales job?
So I grew up pumping gas at my parents' gas station at the age of 7. And so I had to go before school every day. We'd get up in the morning, go with dad and go pump gas. And then it was, do you want me to check the tires? Do you want me to check the oil? Do you want me to do all of these different things? And that was just me going to work. And that was what we thought it was all about. Then we would go to school, come back school, and go pump gas more, because it was the family business. And that's what we all had to, everybody had to contribute. But the first time I had to sell was Little League. And it was Little League and those little nasty candy bars, right? That over the years, just so you know, because I'm much older, right? The gray lets me charge more. But when you look at it, those candy bars used to be bigger, and now they just keep getting smaller and smaller for all of the kids' fundraising efforts.
I thought I was just getting bigger and they just look smaller.
Exactly. I thought the same thing. I'm like, maybe because I ate too many of these, right? They now look so much smaller in my hand. But no, the size kept shrinking while the price kept going up. But what I learned was I told my parents, "Great, what are we going to do?" And they were like, "Go sell the candy bars." And I'm like, how do I sell candy bars? And they're like, "Oh, please, mouth. Go out, go hit up all the neighbors. They already know." And I didn't realize that my parents had already called the neighbors, right? That was something they did back in the day, the phone chain, the one that was on the wall. They pick up the phone and go call the neighbor and say, "Hey, Joey's coming over here to sell you candy bars. Buy a couple of them from him." So blah, blah, blah. So the first couple was really easy. And so I got those quick successes and I was like, this game is easy. And then I went around and I hit all the houses in the blocks. And we lived in a very large community. And I was gone for several hours until I was out of candy.
Wow.
Back with, envelope of money. And I'm like, now what? And my parents started laughing. They're like, "Oh, there's more boxes. Don't worry about it." But I never did it for I want to win the competition against other people. That wasn't where I was going. I just wanted to sell it and be able to tell my team that this is what I contributed.
Wow.
So
that was your very first at 7 years old, correct?
It was 9, I believe.
9. Okay, so you
I was pumping gas since I was 7, right? And then at the gas station, you had to bump for selling them a quart of oil, selling them certain things that were there. I never knew it was sales. It was just me go pump the gas, be nice, right? Hand them change, make change kind of stuff. So I knew math really early on.
Right. So you were learning how to upsell at the age of 7. Yes. And it's interesting when you talk about gas pumping, because for those of us, like I grew up in Arizona, and when I started driving, I've always pumped my own gas. So somebody pumping gas for me is a completely foreign, I guess, thought to me. Now, I know some states it's required that somebody else has to pump your gas. Kind of interesting. But was California that way too, or is it? It was optional.
No, it was optional. So we had in a lot of the gas stations. My dad ended up owning 5 at one point, but there was always one row of pumps that was full service. And so that was where they pulled in, they paid more per gallon, so they didn't have to get out of the car and have somebody else pump it for them.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. So you were learning some skills at a very early age. Now, 9 years old, you're selling candy bars, and you're just like, you're just, I guess, probably outselling a lot of the kids, because I can only imagine your pitch, and at a 9-year-old boy, it's probably like, how do you say no after a kid?
Right. That was the best part of it, right? It was, okay, there's this little kid outside the door saying, "Do you want to buy a candy bar?" And there was no customization to it. There was no, "This is a wonderful pitch I came up with." It was like, "Hey, I'm in Little League. We need to sell candy bars. I've got candy bars. At least one will make you happy," And the person would be like, "Give me 3, give me 4, give me whatever." And the boxes held like 20. So I just kept going until I can get rid of 20 of them.
Yeah.
And then that's when I knew to come home.
So then as you get older, you're not so as cute as a 9-year-old boy. So now you really got to polish up your
work at it. You have to work at it. You got to learn scripting. You got to learn, personalities. You got to learn buying triggers, all of these different things. Yeah, it's actually genuine. Now,
so you stayed in pretty much sales all throughout then. Is that correct?
No. I went through, so all the way through high school, working at the gas station and doing that, learning. I was getting certifications for being a mechanic. Why? Because that's what my family did. But when I graduated high school, the answer was, now what do we want to go do? And sat down, opened up the phone book. For those that don't know, there was a giant book that was all yellow, and it had jobs, companies in it. And so all I did was go through to say, what do I want to do? And I sat with my mom, because that was my mom's answer. She was like, "Well, what do you want to do? Let's sit down and see what's out there." And so I immediately said, "I want to fly helicopters." right? And my mom's like, whoa, that's really dangerous. Blah, blah. And I'm like, no, but it appeals to me. I think that's great, right? I drive faster than most people anyway. And so she was like, well, look, everything electronic you've ever had, you've taken apart and you've never put it back together. She's like, you took it apart to see how it worked and then you left it apart. She's like, why don't you go to school to learn how to put it all back together and do that? Because it must fascinate you at that point. So with that little bump, I went to go become an electrical engineer.
Wow.
And so I went and did it. Was it a passion? No. It was nothing other than bumped by my mom to go in that direction. And so I was like, okay, I did that. So I got picked up 2 years into schooling by an aerospace company out of Redondo Beach. They picked me up, and as I finished schooling, they helped pay for it. And I was started as an intern, worked my way up, and then became like their youngest supervisor, their youngest line manager, their youngest division leader and things. So by the time I was 25, I was in charge of about 40 people. I was responsible for millions of dollars of budget and played the game of up and down. Being aerospace meant our biggest customer was who? The government. And so since that was our customer, you knew every 4 years there was going to be a change and everything was going on hold because budgets were always up for review. And so at one point, a department of 30 went down to 3 people because of my ADHD, which most people say is something bad. I just think it's a sign of intelligence, and understanding is much quicker than most. I learned everybody's job while times were slow. So I would go sit with the people that had been there working, and I was like, hey, so what do you do? Why do you do it? What makes it important? And I just sat with them, and they would go, oh, let me show you. Bump, 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 bump. And I would learn it. Then I'd move to the next station and go all the way around. And I didn't do it anything maliciously. I just wanted to know what to do. So then all of a sudden, budgeting gets cut, and my department of 30 goes down to 3 people. And those 3 people, I'm one of them, because I could do all of these other jobs that nobody else could. Everybody stayed in their one box. And then the answer was, well, you're not a utility player. And so in my 20s, I learned be a utility player, learn as many things as you could possibly learn and go through. But at the time, right, the company came in and sat down and gave me this brand new thing called a Macintosh. And they were like, you need to check this out, right? We're thinking about going to this instead of using the PCs we have now. And so I was one of these people. Now, mind you, they had 10, 15,000 employees across this company in multiple cities around, the United States. But what they did was they sat down and said, here, try these out, try this out, try this out. And so I just became this little test pilot for whatever they were thinking. And then we went into statistical process control. And yes, it's as boring as it sounds. And so, but it was like, okay, if you make a mistake on 100 items, what does it cost you if you do 1,000,000? And that, it was never entertaining. The person who put it in play and tried to push it didn't know what they were doing, and it was nasty, but it gave me this insight of look at things on a mass scale to see if it's profitable or it's good for you. Most people never do. So looking at anything in your life and say, if I do this one time and I succeed, great. If I do it 2 times and succeed, great. But is that sustainable? Most people do one thing, fail at it, and never do it again. Right? And you never know if it's something you would enjoy, right? Just because, again, what had happened if the first person slammed the door on my face when I was selling candy bars? If my parents hadn't called ahead to leverage their relationship for it, I would have been on the 3rd house. I'd have been like, this is hard. I don't even want to do it. Yeah. Right. And so, but because there was instant success, the answer was, well, this must be easy. And my mindset formed around this must be easy. I've never changed that mindset. especially about sales. But in the fact that I'm working for the government agency, working at a company out here in California, and all we're doing is producing, pieces that go into satellites. Okay. And I just kept moving up the ranks. I didn't understand why, but again, my personality is larger than an electrical engineer should be. Okay. And I learned everything I could possibly learn. And I take learning as, to me, it's a gift to be able to learn things. And I can take complex and then turn it into simple. So that's always been a superpower.
That is a superpower, to be able to translate it that way, especially in an engineering environment.
Yeah, exactly. I used to get all the time. I'd walk in, there'd be 7 of us electrical engineers all designing things and putting things together. And then the manager would come over and go, Joe, go sit down and shut up. What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm helping so-and-so because they're off. They need help with their project and doing this. They're like, go finish yours. I'm like, mine's done. And they're like, well, then go sit down and be quiet. I'm like, oh, come on. All of us are here together. Aren't we supposed to be a team? And they're like, go sit down and blah, blah. And I was like, all right. So I knew my personality was just way too much for the career path I chose. Right. So immediately I got bumped into management and then moving on. So I got pushed to management when I was 19. When I started there, when I was 2 years into the program, they pulled me in. Within a couple months, they were like, you're in charge of these people, and start going. And I was like, great. Okay. It pays me more, right? And that was literally what my life was based around for a long time, which is, how much are you paying me?
Right.
I'll do whatever I have to. And I was swapping time for dollars, right? The answer was, I don't care what it is. As long as you pay me more, I'll be happy to do it.
And that's really interesting. So at 19, you are a manager, which that doesn't happen very often, especially over, like you said, 40 people.
Right. So they first gave me 3. And then, so by the time I was 21, I was in charge of 40 plus people. And I was in charge of people that had been working at that company 2 years longer than I had been alive.
So does a young manager deal with the personalities? Because so the people who've been working for a long time are like, are you kidding me? They just promoted a kid. I've been here for a long time. Because that's got to be a natural thing for some people to think, why didn't they promote me? I've been here longer. I have the experience, but they're going to put this young man who barely has any life experience, let alone been in the company that long. So how did you deal with some of that?
So a lot of the things that here's what you have to look at. When you deal in a corporate environment or a company or a large team, there's very, very few people. Like my first year that I was working with these people, I got pulled into meetings. Why? Because I wasn't quiet, right? It's because when something came up, I was like, wait, that's wrong. This will lead to this and this. And I'm just talking because I know I can see that we're going to go down this path and end up with a failure later. And none of these grown people are saying anything. And then I watched where there was one guy that had been there for over 20 years. And I'm sitting there talking with him. And he's like, in any meeting that I go to, he's there. And I'm like, and it doesn't make sense because we work on projects. So Zena, they give you a project and you would be working with a whole team of people, right? So you and I would never meet up unless we had a shared project. Well, when we go into a meeting, this guy's there. And I'm like, okay, then I get pulled into a completely different project because we're building components that go in multiple projects. I go over there, that guy's there. And I'm like, I thought you were on project A. And he goes, no, I'm on multiple projects. And I'm like, but you don't produce anything. You're not part of the manufacturing division like us. He's like, no. And I learned he went to the meetings to take the blame for whatever was wrong. That was the niche he cut out for himself. People would invite him to the meetings. He would get to the meeting and he would sit down and they'd be like, so-and-so did this and it's wrong. And so-and-so did this and so-and-so, and everybody's pointing the finger. And he goes, look, I take responsibility for the failure. It's me, right? I authorized this and he didn't, but he would go do this. And then all of a sudden, everybody could get past the blame and start working on a solution. So to me, I just said, this guy shows up. He has a job. He worked for another 20 years before he retired, and he had a legit departmental job he was supposed to do, but everybody invited him to the meeting to come take the blame. And that's exactly what he did. And then I realized very young, I was like, so all of these people are so egotistical that they're all trying to hold on to instead of admitting a mistake, they're all trying to say they were right and cast blame. And this guy comes in, takes it, and now they can move past it.
Wow.
And so I learned that really early on. And I go, okay, yeah, it's our department's fault. How do we solve it? Right? Okay, and I've been in meetings where they looked at me and they go, it isn't even your component. What are you talking about? This was a design flaw. And I'm like, I get it, but I'm sure I pissed off the designer on the day he designed it. So it must be my fault. And they're like, what? I'm like, can we get to the solution? Can we get to the solution? And so it helped me because I was always solution focused, right? And I think it goes with being a man, right? When you look at the more I've dove into it, right? The women want to vent and talk about it where men don't. Men sit back and say, oh my goodness, I need to solve this, solve for X, right? And I'm like, it's your X, let her go. But you just need to solve the problem is what we try to do. And we don't get a lot of problems and leave them unsolved. And that's part of the issue. But
yeah,
I had to navigate the red tape of the government.
Good job. Good job doing that at such a young age to have figured it out. And, and obviously you are a very good observer and you pick up things by observing people, is what I'm gathering as I'm listening.
I'm a pattern recognizer.
Okay.
Is what I do. So big ears. So I'm auditory. So I can hear things in people's voice and I can hear when somebody has shifted their belief in their own stuff. Right. And I can hear all that. So when you're sitting in meetings and you're listening to people, I'm like, oh, he's totally lying right now. Yeah, he's got that. But yes, I recognize the patterns. That's what I'm good at, is recognizing patterns.
And that's interesting. Do you feel like that is something you just learned along the way, or what was it that helped you to have that gifting?
So I will tell you, a lot of times you find people that actually become pattern recognizers is because of trauma. Okay. My trauma was unique in the fact that it was someone in my household's traumas that caused it. Like, for example, I had an aunt who was schizophrenic. My parents were foster parents growing up. So my brother and I were the real kids in the foster home, and we had children come through our house. But every child that ends up in your house to be fostered went through really bad situations. And then listening to the social workers and going through and being with the children that they tell you, don't become attached, but keep them here, feed them, clothe them, right? Give them a family support structure, but don't become attached, right? And then you find out what happened to them along the way to get them to that point. Then all of a sudden your brain starts seeing, you can identify a bad person, right? You can identify a good person. You can see the small little things to say, this is not congruent with who they're pretending to be right now.
Yeah. And I believe the term is also called profiling.
Yeah, true statement. True statement. But I can watch people, and this is one of the things, like I work with Bob Donnell. We do certain classes together, and then I work with Bill Janishak, and we do an unpacking situation where we say, let's get rid of all the junk that was put in your head when you were too young to stop it, all the beliefs and all the stuff that's there. So there's a pattern to what you do. And so when you sit with people and you talk to them and listen, then all of a sudden, right, profiling, I'm trying to determine your next move. My pattern recognition says, guess what? You've done this 4 times in a row and it's the same thing. You get the same result, but you don't see the pattern because it's unconscious. And that's where you look right? And that's why I'm going to tell everybody right now, you need to surround yourself with people that will tell you the cold hard truth, because most people won't. And so there's plenty of times my own patterns, I can't see them, but it takes, either my little brother, Frank, or Bill Janishak to come back and point them out and going, oh, you're heading down this road again. And I'm like, oh man, I totally missed that.
Yeah. So you're right. And having that tribe of people that are willing to love you enough to tell you, hey, let's not go down that road again. Hey, Tom, let's here. Yeah, it's great. Thank you for being here. So that's an amazing that it goes back to your childhood and the experiences you had, and you learned and picked up on all of that at such an early age. That's just mind-boggling to me, because here it is, you sit and you think, gosh, that's quite a childhood, and having to go through kids coming through foster care and all of that, but yet you turned it into something very, very positive, just learning and growing. So this is a great lesson that in every situation, no matter how dire it may seem or feel, we can always be learning something, and we can use it for something really good.
Right. It's either going to be an excuse or it's the reason. It's one of the two things. So now I'm going to tell you, it's easier now at my age to go, this is what happened and this is what I did. When you're going through it, it's really difficult to stop and go, this is going to be a great lesson one day, right? That I can use as fuel to move myself forward. But again, it just takes the stop, reflect, and find it, and you can do it. So in the beginning, no. I had to work through a whole bunch of stuff. And in my efforts of bettering myself, okay? So while I went to work at 19 for this company, right? While I was still going to school, right? Again, you're 19, you're unstoppable. You don't have to sleep, right? You don't have anything else. I also joined a multi-level marketing company because I bought my first condo at 19.
Wow.
Okay. And so I bought my first condo, and my neighbor worked for Toyota, the manufacturer, but also had the condo here and was doing a multi-level marketing thing called Amway. And so I was like, I don't know what it is. Don't have any preconceived ideas. And then find out it was something my parents used to do a long time ago. And it was, you get 3 people, they get 3 people, they get 3 people, and everybody retires, kind of thing. But I had no fear. I said, okay, great. I'll talk to people until I don't have to. But in that process of joining that multi-level marketing company, it was the best personal development system I had ever got lucky enough to be a part of. And so they taught you, there was a tape of the week. Yes, people, it was a cassette tape because I'm old. Right. So it was a cassette tape that you would listen to in your car, but it was of a speaker. It was of an event that somebody had recorded. And in that, I would take that cassette tape and I'd put it in. Well, I was driving to my job. It was a minimum of 45 minutes each way. And and I was stuck in traffic. So at that point in time, I plug in the tape, drive all the way there. And I used to be a music, just blast the music all the way there. And now I'm popping in this cassette tape, listening to some positivity and some sales training and some personality training and all of these different things. And I listen to it. And again, I'm also ultimately lazy, right? I'll find the easiest way to do anything. I'd pop it in and I would just drive to work. And I started driving. I'd kill the tape on one direction. Oh, right. It'd be like, okay, so when I got to work, I was like, that's done. What's next? And so then talking to one of the upline people, I was like, I don't get it. And he's like, what's it called? Joe, what's the tape called that we send you? I'm like, it's a TOW, tape of the week. And he goes, exactly. You listen to it for a week. And I was like, okay, because I would get them on Tuesday, and then I wouldn't get another one until Tuesday. I'm like, I need more. And now this cassette case that I used to have that was all music started becoming nothing but personal development and product information and things like that. So at 20 years old, I'm listening to one tape for a whole week, back and forth to work, back and forth to work. And the repetition made it sink in. But it taught me the difference in personality types. Okay. Then they said, Joe, you have to read a book. And I'm like, I don't read. I'm like, I made it all through high school without ever reading a book. And so they're like, what? I'm like, no. I would ask people about books and do fake book reports because I knew the teacher couldn't read it all to begin with. So it would be there. But because I always had an interest in people, right? I think it's Bob Donnell who calls himself a behavioral specialist, right? He knows how to watch people. I've always learned that because of growing up with the foster children in our house. So I've always been able to profile people and see things. So once we start talking about a book in class, right, I profile the characters. So then they go, so what do you think happened when so-and-so did? Why did it happen this way? I'm like, because they're blah, 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 blah. And I would just rattle off what that profile of a person would actually do. And so, but again, it helps you to be, I'm very analytical, and that's what it does, is it helps you to see things more black and white. Yeah.
Wow. So Amway was your sales job after your electrical engineering.
Yeah, I did it for years, but I was very successful right away, right? Talking to grown-up adults, having them sit down, listen to my upline, and do things. There were great products and the self-help system. So I went through and got that done, but I just kept doing it. I did it for years. And so, but one of the things they did was one of their large events that I went to was one where a doctor who had wrote a book called Positive Personality Profiles. And it was the DISC profile system, DISC. And so he came out and he said, all right. And they started doing this group. There was 1,000 of us sitting in this auditorium thing. And he was like, let's break you up into groups. And then he said, let's do this. And when he broke everybody up into the 4 categories, there was a bunch of us that were like, I don't fit in that category. And so he came down off the stage and he went and he met with me and he was like, let's go through, and he did. He goes, okay, so you're one of the 2% that go across the process instead of staying together. He goes, you are an IC personality. C, very analytical, detailed, right? The engineering part of it. The I personality, very inspirational and the life of the party, right? The ups, the high highs, low lows, that kind of thing. And so he goes, that's what you are. You're an IC.
Which is an interesting combination because you don't
100%.
ICs very often.
No. It's 2% of the people are either going to be a DSSD or an ICCI, 2%. And so he was like, so that meant I cared about every T getting crossed and every I being dotted, or I couldn't tell you what was a T or an I. Right. So it's as close to almost being personality bipolar. Right. In the situation. And so, but then he did that. And then he looked at the sponsor that brought me in. He was the same way. Then the sponsor that brought him in was the same way. And so we were looking at 4 generations of people. So I joined because this guy was more like me. And this guy had joined because that guy was more like him. And it went through. And so it was one of those things that taught me, I'm like, great. So if I'm already abnormal, which I'm okay with, right? In that situation, I'm like, then why not just learn everything about it? And then I looked and said, my 2 personalities, guess what? They're not the profitable ones, right? They're not the ones that are out making the money. So I looked at it and said, okay, I analyzed a whole bunch of people that were very successful in business and looked at them and I said, wow, they're Ds, they're driver personalities. So then all I did was study all 4 personality types and I just dug in, right? I used to open a book and fall asleep, no lie, right? And then I made the effort to stay awake and read these books and go through and then learned in my 20s the 4 personality types. And I learned to model the driver personality. And so modeling the driver personality, I'm the guy that takes charge of everything now. Okay. But because I can leverage all 4 of the personality traits, I can match other people and I can meet them where they're at and then direct them back to the direction I'd like to go. And so, but again, it helps you with connecting with people.
Yeah, that's amazing.
If you look at your closest friends, the ones around you, if you go, you want to go to lunch, and you go, yeah, you both finish the sentences of each other, and you both will choose the same restaurant, right? Most of the time, you're trying to, you don't go pizza, and the other one's like, no, vegan salad, right? You don't, it doesn't happen that way, right? You both are in the same process. You'll both go, you know what I'm thinking about? And you're like, sushi. Yes, that's what I was thinking about. And you go do this because we keep ourselves around the people that are like us. And so I can communicate with the IT department, okay, and the sales department, where those two hate each other. Right? And I look and go, anybody in administrative and the business side of any business hates the sales department. And they're like, these people can't even make the same mistake twice. Right? Yeah. They always find a new way to screw something up. And it's just because the sales guys aren't paying attention to the details.
Yeah. Wow. This is great stuff, Joe. I mean, what an adventure of a life you have lived. And so you've got all these experiences behind you. Now, currently, let's bring us back up to current. What are you doing right now that's directly helping people?
So I do many things, but I believe that's the ADHD brain as well, right? It's let's do as many possible projects as we can so we never have to take a break. So I have my own sales training company. And I focus, about 60% of my clients are automotive, because after being an electrical engineer, I went to work at a criminal defense law firm, and I ran their sales center for them. It was in 2 states. I took them to 9 states, but I built an inside sales call center with no experience of running a call center other than my first wife used to work in a call center. And that's what I explained to them.
And this was criminal law?
Criminal law. So anytime you reached out online or in the phone book or whatever and called in, you had to get to somebody. And so you got my inside sales team, and we set up appointments for the outside sales team. So that led me to getting into the automotive business once I realized that I wasn't as only money motivated as I thought, right? Because in the criminal defense firm, I told the owner, look, I'm morally and ethically challenged. Just show me money. He was like, okay. And then that's when I learned commission. Yeah, exactly. He's like, you're my kind of guy. But it was more painful by the time I got to the end of the 2 years, right? I had tripled their business and did that. But then I realized we were helping the bad guys that put those foster children into my parents' foster home at the time. And so I walked away. You realized
you had morals.
Yeah, it was, what are the odds of that? And so, but yeah, so I left that and went into automotive, and then had a lot of success in the automotive realm. Started in the building call centers in dealerships to do the stuff salespeople didn't like doing. So I did all of those, built it up, then ended up becoming the general sales manager of a Toyota store. It was a very large one. Took them to number 3 in the nation, and 1,000 cars sold in a month. Average store was doing 89 at that time. So built up a lot of success in automotive and kept in automotive for the last 24 years. So,
wow, 24 years.
Yeah. And so then working for an owner who said, here, come over, work for me. I just bought this dealership and I want you to run it. Came in. I was there for 10 months before he gave my job to his friend. Right. Just came in one day on my birthday and said, I need to bring in a heavy hitter. I need to bring in a guy. And then he goes, I'm bringing so-and-so. I'm like, he's never worked in our industry. You're giving him my store that I turned around, made profitable, made you known in the industry for being such a successful dealership. And so he said, yep, we gotta part ways come Tuesday. And I was like, whatever. And at that point in time, that forced this pivot on me.
I was
That was
saying,
like,
yeah.
okay, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And I talked to my wife. I'm like, I could go to any one of his competitors in this area and totally get a job and help them crush him. And she goes, why don't you just open your business, the side hustle that you've always done for years? Why don't you just take that and build a business with it? And I said, okay. And that was my first instance. I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to be solely living on me instead of having the security of a job and a paycheck. And so I jumped out, took 47 days to replace my income as the general manager of a dealership. And things just started popping. And then I realized I went to all those competitors that were used to be my competitor and he'd say, hey, remember me? I'm the guy that kicked your butt. And they were like, yeah. And I said, well, the new guy that he put in 2 months ago has already quit, that he gave my job to, but I'm here to train your people if you want it. And I'll give you a discounted rate to train your people, and we'll just choke out that other guy. So that helped me start, right? I used the negative energy to do that. Sometimes you got to go dark and you can actually get to the point of being productive.
But that's funny. Sometimes you have to go dark.
You need to. There's dark energy and there's light energy, right? Sometimes you gotta go dark, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, and you obviously turned it into positive for sure. I'm going to put up this website here, thegeniuslinks.com, as we continue the discussion, because I want people to know how to get a hold of you, Joe, if they're needing help and, all those things, because you're a man full of knowledge, experience, and you really are out there wanting to help people. And so that's wonderful. So that is so interesting that your wife was the one that said, go for it. Because you weren't even really thinking that. It doesn't sound like you were actually thinking about, okay, where's my next job?
Where's my next job?
And so what amazing wife you have there, because some wives would be very scared, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And she was in the automotive business too. She actually was running a different dealership for the same owner.
Oh, wow.
And the owner came in and took my job away and then had to go sit with her. But she was like, no, just go do it. We'll be fine. We have money saved. We just had bought a house. And so she's like, go do it. Just go do it. And then again, I believe when you put it out there and you make a decision, right? That used to be a website of mine, which was Make a Decision. And if you make the decision, the universe will then throw things your way. Right. And so if you read the book, right, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill and my friend Sharon Lecter, if you read that book, it talks about he uses the devil as saying the devil gets power when you drift. Okay. So when you aren't thinking about things, when you just go to work and come home and you go to work and come home and do that, that's when your soul is stolen, not at the end. And so to me, I look and say, I have to get up in the morning and be intentional. And then what happens is when you set an intention and you act accordingly, then things fall in your way. I believe your brain starts seeing opportunities it couldn't see before because you are doing it. It nothing to do with whether you're religious or not, or you believe in, God, Allah, whatever, the universe, source, it's all the same. It's you. And so I say in my brain, I have to project myself forward with this intent of getting here. And all of a sudden things fall in my way. And it's because all of a sudden my eyes can see those opportunities where they couldn't see it before.
And you're right in that, when you make a decision, because a decision means you have to cut off. So you can't be a double-minded, 1 foot in on one side and 1 foot on the other side. You really have to go all in for, like you said, to be intentional and to cut something else off in order for something new to become available to you, to be open to opportunities. Tom says, great wisdom. Thank you for sharing, Joe. Yes, I agree. Very, really great wisdom. And so this is where I think a lot of people have a hard time is letting go, because when you talk about pivoting, some people get stuck in the pivot They have a moment where, okay, my life, I know just there's a change that has to happen, but I'm not really ready to let go of that past because I was comfortable there. This is where 24 years, this is what I've been doing. This is who I am. This is Joe Ingram. It's where all my this is where all my experience has been, or the most of my experience has been. But then now you're like, but I have to do something. I'm forced to do something now. I'm at a moment where I'm at a fork of a crossroad. And some people just stand there and they just are frozen. And I don't know what to do. I don't know which road to take. I don't know here. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. And there's no decision made. And so, of course, you're going to stay stuck, right? So I love that you said you have, once you make a decision, things start happening. Well, yeah, because you're going to start going down the path. And, and Joe, I believe people are like, they mull over and like, I just don't want to make the wrong decision. I just don't know what road to take because I'm afraid I'm going to make the wrong decision. I believe that there is no wrong decision.
No. But I teach people right now, action solves everything. Okay. The only time you feel trapped, the only time you feel complacent, is when there is no action. You're not moving. So like you said, I have a decision to make and I'm not making it. Well, you're not making it means you're stuck in no action. There's no movement. Okay. And then someone said this to me a long time ago, and I was like, yeah, and then it means so much more to me now as a grown up, right? Which is, even God can't steer a parked car. Right. And I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, I thought God could do everything. No, the concept is, if you're not moving, you can't make directional changes. And so, again, if the answer is, I'm scared, I don't want to make the wrong decision, then I will make the same decision that my pattern has always taught me. And now I'll go get another job, even though I hated the last job, right? And thought I'd be miserable for the rest of my life working that way. Now I'm freed up and I can see this as an opportunity to go follow what I want to do. And the answer is, I don't do it. I go back and look for another job. And that's where I was. And if my bride had not said, just go do your business thing, I never would have known I could make more money. And again, I knew it, but I wasn't trusting it.
Right.
And so, but again, it didn't make sense. Literally 2 days after I said, fine, I'm not going to go take this job. And I had all of these different people that worked for the manufacturer call me and go, hey, I got a gig for you. I got a job. I got this one. This place needs you. This one wants you. This one. And I was like, no. I'm going to focus on my own stuff. Then I get a phone call from somebody who goes, hey, remember you used to do all those phone centers and do all the other stuff? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, do you know anybody who does that now? I go, I do. Have my own company. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, great. Come see me. And so, but why would that? I hadn't talked to that guy in 15 years. And then out of nowhere, 2 days into me making the decision, he calls, and that helps start my business as the first client.
That's awesome. Awesome stuff. Joe, so you've been married how long now?
23 years.
Amazing. And you met her when you're working in the automotive industry?
Yep. I met her in 2000.
Wonderful. Children as well?
She has 2 from her first marriage. I have 2 from mine. So
awesome.
And it's hilarious to watch. You know, I see Instagram to find out that my kids got together and went snowboarding. Right? Like nobody's even saying, let's tell the parents, right? I'm like, wait, but they legit have melded. They don't look alike, but they sure as heck believe they are family.
Well, that's the beauty of it. That just means you blended the family well. And yeah, that's great, because that's a challenge in itself for sure. That's a topic for another day. I should have you on my other podcast, Partners to Powerhouse, and we can talk about that. How to blend families and marriage and all that sort of thing. So
we could have fun with that topic too.
Yeah.
Hello, Miss Debbie.
How are you? Oh, Debbie's doing amazing things too. So it's so great.
Yeah, her Studio 11 that's out there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I try to jump on any Instagram live that I see, but she's smart. She knows don't answer Joe.
Yeah.
Because she goes on, she puts on some little, tank top thing, and I'm like, is it coming my size? Right? It's she just looks, you see her look at the comment, she's like, and we're gonna go, but I'm like, oh, she's so smart. She's so smart.
She is smart. That is for sure. That is for sure. Yes, that would be great to have Joe on your show.
Never turned down a show offer. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Tom's great too. Tom's a man of many gifts and talents as well.
I know Joe, Tom through the Grow Live Academy.
Yes, I know. Well, this is the Grow Live Academy here, right? I mean, Debbie and all. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, Ken absolutely. The Ken crew, yes. Joe makes everything better, but no tanks for Joe.
Yeah, I can't pull off the tank tops. It just doesn't work. I'd have to actually go get manly tattoos to try to wear one. It doesn't work.
I almost think she can do something with that. No tanks for Joe. See how many viewers she's going to get. No, that's great, Joe. I really enjoyed this time of really getting to hear, how you ended up doing what you do right now, and to hear the passion behind it, to hear that you have been able to cultivate challenges and turn them into positive things and just keep moving. And you don't look back. There you go. Hashtag no thanks for Joe. I think that would be great to do. Because for those that are aspiring and they are looking to do something new, or they know that new season of life is coming, because let's just face it, the only sure thing we have in life is that there's going to be change, and there's going to be a point where you have to make a decision. He's one of the big dogs on YouTube. Yes, Joe is definitely the man, the myth, the legend, and the genius. And so for sure, he is a big dog.
It's only like 10 years in the making, people. Yeah. Look at, he's an overnight sensation. No. Yeah. Go check and see when the YouTube channel, but it's focus, right? Where do you point your focus? And so probably 9 months ago, I said, I'm focusing on YouTube. I want to build people, do that. So now I have a company that runs a live stream of one of my shows 24/7. So if you go to my YouTube channel, it's going to say Joe's live. Joe's live and he's training. There's me, there's Brian, there's JR, right? We're all on there doing an actual training, so that no matter what time, no matter anybody in the world, when they go there to look for a live video, they're going to find one playing for me.
Wow.
And that helps increase in viewers. It gets me more subscribers, and people can say, oh, I like it. Because again, how many times have you gone to a YouTube channel and then went, I don't know, which one do I want to click? I've already got it playing. Right. So it's there.
That's awesome. Wow. That's genius.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's great then. And that is part of the achieving the American dream, is being able to adapt and overcome. Because things are always changing. No matter how comfortable you get in life, things will always change. Thank you, Tom. You as well. Everybody, happy Independence Day. It truly is. We are the day before Independence Day, and I do want to thank everyone who has given so much to the American dream for all of us. Those that have served our country, those who continue to serve our country, whether you are in the public servant sector or you're in the free market sector. Everyone has contributed to this dream that we get to live here in America. And even though it may be some imperfect systems in our country, there is no other country like America. And I know people can sit there and argue, but if you haven't lived other places, we truly are blessed. So yes, happy Independence Day. I truly am going to go out and celebrate. What are you going to do, Joe? Are you doing anything special? I hope you're not working.
I'll be in my office. Yes. So again, I believe, right? So one of my things we talked about before was that never be normal. Normal people get normal paychecks. So I learned from my father that looking at it, you need to be willing to do the things that other people won't do, so that you can do that. So what is everybody going to do? Everybody's going to go, let's go party for the 4th of July and extend our weekend so we get 4 days and go through. I've scheduled myself. I only work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I already have 4-day weekends. And then I choose to give up those days for certain clients, right? If it benefits both of us.
Sure.
But looking at that, I say, come on, guys, go do something this 4th of July that will help to set your freedom goal in motion, other than I got plastered and ate too much food off the barbecue.
Well, good for you, Joe. Good for you. You are living the dream, and you're helping others to not only live the dream, but go beyond it. So I really applaud you, Joe. I am so grateful and thankful for you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the
Thanks for being persistent. Right? She was like, I sent you a link a long time ago. I'm like, where? I'm so sorry. I missed it. Yes. No, you were.
Well, I appreciate it. You were worth the pursuit, Joe. So you were worth the pursuit.
I'll take that.
So thank you once again. And this isn't going to be the only time Joe's going to be on American Dream Makers. If he's willing, I'd love to have him on again, because I can tell we were just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to Joe than meets the eye, and I'd love to unpack Joe a little bit more. And yeah, Joe, happy Independence Day. Go out there and get them, and get a hold of Joe, thegeniuslinks.com. Absolutely get a hold of Joe. You will not regret it. He is going to be someone you want on your team to succeed. So thank you again.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you too. So goodbye for now, and we'll chat in just a bit here. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here on American Dream Makers on this beautiful day. And I do want to say so much. I appreciate all of you that stopped in and said hello. And if you're watching the replay, let us know that you are here as well, because it is a wonderful, wonderful thing when we can support all of us. And if you haven't already, like my YouTube channel, American Dream Makers, and also my Facebook page. I'm also on LinkedIn. Love to connect with you all. So until the next time, be blessed and go out there and live out that American dream.